All right, welcome to Money Never Sleeps, the show where we talk about anything and everything that impacts flow money from around the corner to around the world. And I want to thank you for being with us, listening, viewing. As most of you know, we just started doing live video streams, so that's pretty cool. And we're doing this on Vero Hive exclusively. Granted, there's distribution on YouTube, on Facebook Live, and other things, and other platforms. However, Vero Hive is where we are, and this is where we will be for a long time. So I appreciate you tuning in. Look, there's a lot of stuff going on in the markets. I really don't want to talk about specific stocks. I'll talk about a couple later on, but it's going to be related to the arena that I'm talking about. And what I'm speaking about today is food technology. And I spoke about it this morning on another show. I want to go a little more in depth so that I can share things, more things with you guys as much as possible. Look, I mean, this edge technology that is bursting at the seams. It's rising from in food tech, from the farm or the factory to the fork. All right, technology is involved in a lot of things, and we're seeing a lot of robust movement in that arena. I think that when people think food technology, they're thinking more of technology, or they're thinking about alternative foods, like Beyond Meat, Impossible Burger, Impossible Meat, or whatever, those type of things. Um, there's more involved in food tech than that. Um, you have a lot of companies that are creating these really interesting products. Um, one thing in particular, and I guess let me chop it up. Technology. Okay, you have alternative foods in that arena. You have technology for agriculture. You have technology for marketing. Believe it or not, in the food tech, and you have machine learning. You have computer vision. You have sensors. You have all this stuff. This is all part of the technology of the food industry, and there's a lot more that will be coming. I think that on the agri side, you have autonomous vehicles that they're uh, they're there now. They're adding more to it. Um, the sensors on these vehicles is interesting. We have a machine that is supposed to harvest or spray. They have sensors on there, and they have drones and satellites that are connected to it, and it can be, yeah, they have predictive analysis that's associated with it. So that's part of AI, and I'm going to talk about AI in a second. But they have all that stuff, so these machines can run by themselves. What's happening is that you definitely have an aging population in the farming industry. You have big companies that are coming in and they're taking over farmland, and they're creating farming situations. There's been a big a big gap, okay, in the farming arena, in the agribusiness. The small farmer, they get knocked out a lot. They've been knocked around for a long time. Technology can help them get back some of what they're doing. You have the younger generation; they don't want to be farmers. They don't want to be, Farmer Bill. They don't want to have a pitchfork. But that's the vision that people have, but it's not like that anymore. Technology is changing all that. You have more high tech that's going on in the world of farming than you have in certain businesses. And that's what makes it interesting. If, for young people that are looking for something different, that's the something different, right? Okay, so the companies that don't embrace technology, I mean, on every vertical, these are the companies that are going to wind up disappearing. They're going to wind up joining Blockbuster and the abyss, and that's the reality of it. AI is being used in agriculture, is being used in the food industry for a lot of things, including marketing. okay, which I want to go through. I'm going to touch on in a second, but I want to talk about microorganisms. I'm not a scientist, but I do look at what's out there in the trends. Okay, microorganisms. What is that? You're thinking that is some biological craziness. Basically, we see it every day: yeast, algae, bacteria. We see this stuff, and and in breads and foods and pasta and all this other stuff. So we see this stuff being used every day. It's in our everyday foods. All right, so it's not something that's out of the ordinary for what we're used to. All right, so now let's we look at that. Okay, um, dairy products. Okay, you have everybody thinks milk, eggs, this, that, dairy's bad, is bad for you. You're taking milk from the cow, you're taking eggs from the chicken, you're doing this, doing that. The reality is you have companies out there that are doing some smart things and they're creating milk without cows, egg whites without chickens. They're creating meat without cows. They're doing all this stuff, and it's these are all vegan items, by the way. And they're doing stuff that actually helps the environment. And how does that help the environment? If you reduce the cattle and all the that end of it, because when you're dealing with farm animals, you're dealing with cattle that's used for food. It takes a lot of water, a lot of vegetables, a lot of everything to keep these animals going, and then obviously they're processed into meat. If you had to see this for yourself with your own eyes, you would understand why these people are creating these products. They're utilizing microorganisms to create protein related products that we can consume and can feed our bodies. That's not meat related. So I get it, and I think there's going to be a really big market for that. It's going to be a big market. Um, Blockchain, another area that's going to be a big market as well, because you're talking about a few different points that blockchain does. It has, and bear with me, has the ability to increase food quality. Believe it or not, track waste, just traceability. It's protecting the consumers. So if you have blockchain and you're utilizing it and you're able to keep the food quality high, how? Blockchain is tracking these items. So if you have a pear that's coming from wherever, from whatever farm, and it's part of a blockchain technology and they're tracking it, you can bet your bottom dollar that pear is not going to be switched midpoint and you're going to get a bad pear. So it allows companies to keep their food quality high, which protects the consumers. Okay, so from port to port, from farm or factory to the fork, all this stuff, it becomes very important, very important. IBM did something, and I mentioned this a few times on Money Never Sleeps radio. I've also mentioned it on other shows. IBM, a little time ago, they made a deal with Walmart and they created the IBM Food Trust. And that's interesting because that incorporates blockchain. That's tracking the food from the farm to the store, every facet of it. So basically what they're doing, they're keeping the quality of the food or the products, whatever, in this case the food. Okay, so they're keeping the quality of the food high, meaning that if you're getting a thing from this farm and that's the quality, you expect it at the store. You expect it at the Walmart food area or their fresh market area. Okay, you expect it whether it be a Whole Foods and things like that. If you think for a second they're not utilizing this technology, of course they are, because they have to keep people safe. They protect the consumers. You're talking about food that can go bad, and you can't have a shipment of food go bad. Okay, when that could have fed a lot of people. Granted, it impacts their bottom line. However, if you keep the quality of food high, you're protecting the consumers, and then also you're mitigating your risk. As an end buyer of these products. Okay, or yeah, and even on as a distributor, you're protecting yourself because you're protecting your business, and that's what it's all about. Okay, one other area that I see being of value is recycling. Believe it or not, you won't hear a lot about this in the food tech arena, but recycling is important. You have companies in Belgium that are involved in the water business, the bottled water business. They're using 100% recycled bottles. Recycled plastic for their bottles, for their plastic bottles. So they're recycling all the plastic, and they're redistributing it within their ecosystem. So that's a good thing. Good thing for the environment, right? Also, you have beer companies now, they're using 100% recycled cardboard for their packaging. Good stuff. Good for the environment. When you, and I just to go back to the cattle, when you, you know, the cattle, when you know, with all the water consumption and the food consumption, what the farmers need, the cattle farmers or ranchers need for them to go and upkeep these animals, the green gas, those levels go higher and higher. So when you reduce that, is better for the entire environment. You know, it's one of those tricky things because there's a big market for meat. Okay, it's never going to go away, but you have good people that are trying to do good things, and they're being rewarded for it, like Impossible Burger, like Beyond Meat, and companies like that. You have Perfect Day, which deals with creating milk, not using cows. So companies like that, they're being rewarded. That actually, a Perfect Day got a $140 million investment recently, so it threw them into, I guess, unicorn status in the food tech arena. So that is interesting, and also in the food tech space, you have a lot of big players in there. You have like Conagra, you have Nestle, uh, you have General Mills, you have Campbell Soup. You have a lot of big players in that arena. And what's happening now, you have smaller players that are coming into the mix. And what you're going to see a consolidation. It's interesting. A lot of industries are consolidating. But these bigger companies like Conagra, they're in M&A mode. They acquired a few companies for, I don't know. I think if I can get the name, I think Pinnacle Foods. They acquired them for 10 billion. All right. You have Campbell Soup. They acquired a few companies recently. General Mills. They acquired Blue Buffalo. Your dog food for, I think it was 5 billion. So you have a lot of activity in that space, and you wouldn't think that activity would be there because really, who's paying attention to it? However, if you're able to keep your eyes on a few different balls, you'll see opportunity. And I always see the opportunity in the private sector because these companies that are just coming out, they have great ideas, they have great vision for things, and they're starting to get the ball rolling. These companies I like to look at, and I look at the people, I look at the founders, and if you're able to see what they're doing, and you're able to get a better handle on the direction they're going in, you may be able to connect and help one of these companies that are looking to grow and help them to go further through investment, through being a part of them, something. I think that you're going to have a lot of different companies, or you do have a lot of different companies out there that are looking for that opportunity. So we're going to have that, and I see that as an opportunity. We have it now. Is there? You have small companies that are looking for venture capital, that are looking for these investors. There's an investment in the public markets as well. Okay, and you just have to look for it. You have to look at the trends and what's happening, where we're going to be in the next 5 years, how technologies and being incorporated in there. And I'm touching on all these things, and I may sound like I'm jumping from one area to another, but I have limited time on the show, so I'm just trying to touch on this arena on a on a pretty much on a macro level, so that I can touch on all these topics, and then for future shows I can break it down and really focus on a particular industry area, not an industry, but an area in that industry, so that I can kind of bring up companies and talk about them, maybe bring companies on the show. So we're trying to groom the format for what we're going to do. So we're laying the groundwork for what's going to be happening in the coming weeks as we bring on guests. So you have to just bear with me as I just lay this groundwork that I hope will be of value to you viewers and listeners of Money Never Sleeps. Now, I talked about AI and marketing. You wouldn't think that that would be the case, okay? But you have machine learning that's been incorporated into the marketing of food companies, okay, where they go and they put together predictive analysis to try to predict and forecast what the next trend is going to be, so they get in there. It's really intuitive. You're talking about heavy amounts of data that needs to be used to do this. So, and I believe Dr. Pepper had success with that in 2017 when they had a couple of brands they were launching, and it did quite well. I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see that in the sports industry as well. Predictive analysis. It's not. I mean, not so much to see who's going to win, but to see what trends are going to be there for marketing purposes. Markets you can touch, what you can do, and how things are going to work. Right now, this pandemic put everything in flux, and it changed everything. So now this analysis, the predictive analysis that companies have been able to depend on, all changed. Everything changed. So now this data has to be recycled, and they need to get fresh data in order to feed the machines. It's a process. So we'll see what's going to happen there. But I think that the value is going to be there in general on a marketing level with machine learning. Um, Now going to other technology, you have computer vision, you have again machine learning, you have drones, you have sensors, you have all these things that are being incorporated into food tech. Now, opportunities. Opportunities. I see the opportunities being as such: alternative food products. What does that mean? Plant based meats, microorganisms, that arena. Okay, which leads me to the alternative dairy space, your milk, your egg whites, and things of that nature. You're going to see more of this being developed. It's inevitable. It's inevitable that they're going to do this, and that'll be a big growth sector. And now, because these companies like Impossible Burger, I think Morningstar Farms, and also Beyond Meat, they paved the way for what is happening now. There's no more of just a bean burger. These are more enhanced products they're coming out with, and people enjoy it. Okay, functional foods. You're probably asking yourself, what's a functional food? Well, products like you have your orange juice, you have it, infused with calcium. You have probiotics in your milk. Functional foods. You're going to see a big market with that now as more people lean towards not so much organic, healthier alternatives, right? So you're going to see a lot of this happening, and hopefully it gets a little more cost effective for the end consumer. It's amazing that it costs more for organic than for processed foods. It shouldn't be that way. This should be in abundance. And that's a topic for another day. Okay. Smart recycling is another area of opportunity where you have plastics, cardboards, things of that nature that are being repurposed in packaging, repurposed in other arenas so that we can help our planet, and that's where I see the opportunities. So companies that are involved in those areas, okay, that are in startup mode, maybe a little more advanced, they're revenue generating, they're looking to grow. You're in the right space. My view would be, you have to probably try to link up with larger companies that are in uh, where you can fit You have a vertical fit into that process. You do that, you can have a win. If you have a horizontal business model that's with a larger company, you may have issues. So you got to look at what you have, okay, and how it fits into uh, a company's business plan and how it can work with what they're doing. If you have something that has a vertical integration into their business model and it can enhance their company, you may find yourself being acquired. So you got to look at that. Okay. And I think I covered a lot. As I said, there's going to be consolidation in the industry. And you're going to have companies taking over companies, taking bigger companies taking over smaller companies, and you're going to have the bigger companies at some point consolidating, and they'll be bringing the technology together. So you can have all that stuff. And in the agricultural area, that's going to be, I'm going to have a whole show on that because that's a different animal within itself. And I want to bring on guests that are more um, educated in that arena than I am. I'm just laying the groundwork for what is to come. And I appreciate first you guys viewing. I appreciate you guys listening. I appreciate you guys being a part of Money Never Sleeps. And I appreciate the guests we're going to have on that I haven't introduced yet. So we're going to go and we're going to bring that to the table. All right. So on that note, I want to thank you for viewing, listening, and I'm going to be back with you on the next episode of Money Never Sleeps video and podcast radio. We're doing everything now, but I appreciate you guys. You guys enjoy your day and enjoy the rest of your trading day, and we'll be back with you on Money Never Sleeps. You take care.